Hey, there was pretty massive news that broke today, I think late morning, that Newshub is being closed down in its entirety. Well, what they're saying is there's a proposal that Newshub will be shut down in its entirety. What that means is Newshub will be shut down in its entirety. There's even talk already about, people in charge being open to other proposals, but the workers of Newshub have gone, no, they're not. So there's a proposal that Newshub disappears on the 30th of June. And let's have a look at some coverage, because it's devastating on so many levels. And one of the levels, in and of itself, is it's devastating for us, not us BHN, but us as a society, because we need as many media outlets as we can have to, like, sometimes this is a Newshub exclusive because One News hasn't picked up on this story or whatever. The other thing that's really important, and I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Chewy, but when people are talking about newspapers shutting down, right? If you ever watch things like MSNBC, CNN, even Fox News, that kind of stuff, so many of their stories start with first reported in the New York Times. Yeah? So there's these other things about media outlets. We use them. We get to use Newshub's product to talk about issues of the day. Now, I'm not saying that because it'll be harder for us. I'm saying that different media outlets have different focuses, and what they do is they bring a different light to something that then can be expanded by other people. So media companies doing news are so much more important than just the news they provide. It's often it's the first step up a ladder of that story that then gets picked up by other groups, by bloggers and by, podcasts and by other news agencies. And it gets delved into further and further and further, and it spreads it out. So losing a news media agency of this size, 300-ish people, is devastating, obviously for them, for the people who it's involved, but for the country. It's a really, really, really scary moment. 1989, they've been around since. We've had two 6 p.m. bulletins, 2 news agencies working in television in New Zealand since 1989. We are literally going back to Muldoon and Longy era with our news service, our news ability. It also goes to show, True, why publicly funded news is so very important. So very important to keep it an RNZ and a TVNZ, or a TV1 in particular, publicly funded, because if it's going to come down to just the commercial coin, then others are going to fall behind. So actually, I know it seems a bit ironic, but I've got the TV1 story. Obviously, TV3 also led with them talking about the story, but I wanted to do the TV1 story to give a different outside perspective. I am going to show some clips about from TV3 as well. So let's have a look at the story as per the news tonight.
Staff just told more than 3 decades of journalism is set to stop in a matter of months.
Thinking of all of our colleagues at the moment.
Colleagues in the field were told to drop their stories and get back to the office. At its Auckland headquarters, it was 2 security guards and company-wide meetings.
Just shock, really.
Their jobs set to go in June.
If you're not obviously watching it and picking it up, that's a Newshub person being hugged by a Newstalk ZB person. So, there are genuine, because we know each other. I know, I've been interacting with several of the people from Newshub today that I know personally. It's bigger than just them as well. It goes into all the other agencies. TVNZ, this story tonight, actually, this reporter, we're not going to show the clip, but at the end of the story, he goes into the studio with Simon and he says, in 1989, a whole bunch of people left TVNZ to go to TV3, and that's the only reason I've got a job. So that reporter got a job because TV3 started up, because he was filling the gap of someone who left TVNZ to go to TV3, even though it's a very small industry. Everyone knows everyone.
We've looked at many options on how the newsroom could potentially transform. The reality of it is the scale of the downturn in the TV advertising market has been so great, we haven't seen a viable option other than what we've announced today.
Newshub's owners are a multi-billion-dollar international.
Well, good evening.
But they say for 3 the channel to survive, Newshub has to be axed.
I don't believe there's anything that the network could have done substantially. No, there was no other way.
This is Brenton, but he was running NZME when I was working for Newstalk ZB. He's been working in this world for a very, very long time. He then became, I think, the CEO of New Zealand, of All Blacks, the All Blacks as well, I think.
This is going to go in. Television, free-to-air television isn't as profitable as it used to be.
Three's last finances show it losing tens of millions of dollars in a year. It never asked the government for help.
And they did say things were not going too well. They didn't ask for any assistance in terms of funding.
Warner Brothers Discovery has never actually reached out for assistance. It's not something that they felt that was helpful.
And
now, TV3 reported that slightly differently. TV3 came back after that and they actually said that's not true what the minister said. Let me play you that bit from the 3 News update.
Newshub can reveal Warner Brothers Discovery does not agree with the minister's version of events.
Yeah, absolutely not true. So there are 2 parts to that statement. The first part around there was nothing that could happen. We were specifically talking about cordia relief. We were talking about the proposed Google Facebook Digital Bargaining Act. And my comments to her were that neither of those things are in place right now, and neither of them would address the scale of the revenue drop that we've had in the market that we talked about today.
Now, I'm going to explain for you guys as well what the whole Google, Facebook digital bargaining thing is, because when you have it explained to you, you kind of go, oh, I was actually talking to someone, I actually can't say who, but I was talking to someone fairly senior in a media company in the last couple of weeks, and he was a person who was presenting at that to the government about this, and he explained it to me, and I went, oh, I didn't understand it entirely. So when we get to the end of the story, I'll also explain that to you as to where some of the revenue is going, but this is back to TVNZ now.
it's unlikely there'll be any now.
Well, it's up to each individual corporation, as it is in every other sector in our economy.
Hundreds could lose their jobs, faces that have been here for years, and those just starting out.
You aspire to be like those people, you know, and then you saw yourself at 3 and to know that there's probably potentially not a future there. So
it's an amazing team, and everyone's just been working really hard over the last couple of months, and I think we'll just continue to do the same.
Tonight, that team's reporting on themselves. Jobs on the line more than ever, and a deadline they don't want getting closer.
There you go. So that's that first part of the story from TVNZ. I got some other things to show you. There was some footage from inside the meeting, and the boss man there, I think it was Glenn Kai, is that what his name? Genuinely seemed, because I mean he lives in he's an Auckland-based person. Obviously, probably not his decision. It's people internationally seem pretty genuinely cut up about it.
And today, an email advising of significant changes. It was sent to staff 48 minutes before they were informed the axe was falling.
This is a terrible announcement. There is no sugarcoating it, and I wish I could be standing up here with better news.
Warner Brothers Discovery New Zealand boss Glenn Kine made the announcement.
I've been very proud to be part of this organisation and part of the newsroom. Nothing prouder.
I don't think maybe that'll. I mean, will that be better for the people who have just lost their jobs? I'm not sure whether it will or whether it won't. But he obviously is pretty cut up about it as well. Couple of other things. Well, actually, wait, Chewy, you can jump into, because I don't want to lose track of the original story.
I just want to hit a couple of points on this. Like you mentioned, this is a very small country, and TV is a very small industry.
Media in general is very small.
And the news media part, that is also a very small. All of these people know each other. Now, when I talk about how small it is, Samantha Hayes was studying at the same place at the same time. She was studying journalism. I was studying broadcasting. So there we go. There's a direct link there. I know heaps of people that have worked for MediaWorks. I know heaps of people that have worked at TV3. It's gutting to see these people lose their jobs in an industry where they're going to really struggle to find somewhere else.
Well, you know, there's something we talked about with Today FM. Remember with Today FM, I went, you know, the Tovers will be fine and the Lloyd Burrs will be fine. Well, Lloyd Burr's just been made redundant again because he's doing the AM show. Now, the difference now is when Today FM shut down, we said clearly that it's the producers and the people down there that are going to be, but there was only about 20 people. There's 300. There's 300 people now going to lose their jobs. There are going to be some of those people on JobSeeker. Not sure how Mr. Luxon's going to actually respond to that by getting them off as quickly as possible. But there are going to be a bunch of media people because there's not 300 jobs. I mean, like, yeah, will Mike McRoberts be okay? Probably, but you've probably got 7 to 10 stars. I hate that word, but like high profile people, and those positions aren't just available in other stores. You had 2 on Today FM. Yeah, they'll be incorporated somewhere. You've probably got 10 massively high profile people, and then you've probably got another 10 below them, and then you've got all the people in the back rooms and stuff. That's just this is not going to be like those top people are fine. Some of them won't.
The second point I want to acknowledge is, and I've seen a lot of comments, and I see a little bit of it in our chat now. People that are happy that it's happening because they're either too left or too right or just not the sweet spot for them personally. They're missing the big picture. Now our news media is purely one organisation.
Our television news media, yeah.
TV. Yeah, is one organisation, and yeah, sure, you might not get your news from the TV, you might get it from us, you might get it from the radio, whatever, but lots of people still get it from TV. And if there's not money going into reporters holding politicians to account, holding local bodies to account, holding businesses to account, then there's a lot of stuff that can happen outside of the spotlight.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a detriment to this entire country. For Luxon to go, oh, well, they're a private company, they know how it works. How many private companies get bailouts because they're in the public interest? You know, he used to run one.
Yeah, true.
Don't you know? So, I mean, for him to just flip that out there, like, it's absolutely no consequence. He's probably going, fantastic, that's halved the amount of shows that I'm not going to go on. I think there's really big downstream effects for just like how many news stories in the past 6 months did Newshub get to first, Pat? There's quite a few.
There's several. Yeah, plenty.
They did some fucking good work in the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
And yet there's personalities involved with Newshub that we don't necessarily agree with.
Okay.
But
fair.
But they're part of it. They're part of it. They're part of getting different points of view, different angles. And now that's gone. And I think even if you're quietly going, fuck them, I think there's serious downstream effects that we're going to be chewing on for ages, because nobody's going to, like, TV news, as I said, it's not profitable, it's expensive, you've got to employ a lot of people to spend a lot of time finding their stories, and that's why it's on the chopping block. There's still going to be a TV3, there's just not news. So I hope you like Married at First Sight, The Block, fucking Naked Rape Boy Island,
basically anything that Warner's or Discovery is making. Look, the other thing about this story, it's actually made me, I came across a clip today, I'm going to play it for you, not to be deriding of this person, but there is something to do with the media, right? They haven't quite got the idea about moving digitally yet. And I even heard it in some of the questions from the reporters today. This is Tova O'Brien asking a question of the Prime Minister. The question's more important to me than the answer. Have a listen.
One of the biggest problems is the fact that audiences just aren't tuning in on any kind of platform, really. We're seeing shrinking numbers. What role does politicians undermining trust in journalism and in journalists have to play in that? Like yesterday, we had the Deputy Prime Minister talking about the woke media inside the House.
Well, as I've said before, media actually have to, if there's a trust challenge with the New Zealand public from media outlets, that's a collective decision that they need to make to ask questions about why aren't they connecting, why aren't they actually being able to build sustainable business models. There are outlets that are actually working really hard at that and have got different approaches to it, different business models.
I have no doubt that they are doing that. Like, as a collective, as an industry, we are doing that. But also, what do politicians need to reflect on the language that they're using? Because in the House, like I say, we have the Deputy Prime Minister using words like the woke media, do you need to take responsibility for some?
Well, I just say to you, the media, no politician will appreciate the media coverage that they get or the media's, appreciation or assessment of them. I get that. But media play an important role in our democracy, something that should be incredibly well valued. In the case of the Deputy Prime Minister and many other politicians around this place, they all have private and public views of what the media are.
Is it appropriate for the Minister to be calling out woke media in the House?
He's completely allowed to express his...
So the couple of things about that. The first thing is Tova misses it completely. Newshub isn't going bankrupt. Isn't cancelling. I'm pretty sure it's Tova. If it's not, I withdraw and apologise. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. This is definitely Stuff. It's on Stuff's feed. So I'm pretty sure. Now you've made me question myself in the middle of a rant. Yeah, look, it's on Stuff. Okay, maybe it's not Tova. I thought it was. Let's go back to the question. It's not got anything to do with the language of the politicians. They are not helping. Peters is not helping to foment that distrust, but $100 million has been taken out of the market to do with advertising. Is it Mikey? Was it on Stuff then? Okay, whoever. I withdraw and apologise. Then Mikey missed that. And the other thing that Mikey missed, if it was Mikey, I'll call him Mova, because now I've got both covered, is this bit, and I'm just replaying it, the words. One of the biggest problems is the fact that audiences just aren't tuning in on any kind of platform, really. We're seeing shrinking numbers. That's false. That's not true.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, we're very little, but we're a platform and we're growing. Other internet groups out there, other independent media out there are growing. So it just made me think that the questioner was also missing the thing. You could have said any mainstream, sure, shrinking, gotcha. Television audiences shrinking completely. I don't know. The only time I really watch live television free to air is when it's the cricket, or the news if I want to see what's happening on Newshub that night. But I think, I wonder, this is in my head, I wonder it's going, have they missed the mark with this? Because they're now kind of going, well, what are we supposed to do? Everyone's shrinking. It's not true. The model that the mainstream media organisations are using, that model is shrinking. They need to change their model. I always talk about my mum, when she was little, she used to talk about the Iceman. And I've told this story before. The Iceman was literally a guy who came around with a block of ice to put it in the bottom of the safe where they stored it was their fridge. And then at some stage, refrigerators started to get used, so the Iceman's job was obsolete. Look at Kodak. Kodak developing film disappeared when digital cameras came around, pretty much.
Blockbuster!
So what the mainstream, what mainstream media has not done is moved to what they need to be doing digitally. I'm not saying that like terrestrial television or those brandings are dead, but I'm saying they are going down, and obviously Newshub didn't have the equivalent coming up to regain some of that revenue. So even though the audience for the TV had gone down, other audiences had gone up. So I was intrigued by the question, right? And the question was talking about everything's shrinking. It's not true. Lots of digital things are growing. Everything mainstream might be shrinking. Actually, you know what? Radio's not shrinking, but television mainstream is. I just wanted to have a chat over that, Chewy, like we just have.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just replying to someone in the chat saying that we're a long way from journalism, so we can't replace them. Absolutely, we'll be the first people to. It'll be a cold downhill when you say.
I love it when people try to take the piss out of you on Twitter and they go, "Nobody knows your name," and I go, "Yeah, I know."
We're just two dudes with some reckons.
Never claimed that anyone did.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, maybe the format, the way people are consuming their information is changing. And, the idea behind the 6 o'clock news, right, is the entire country was sitting down for dinner. What a great time to have the news on. And then we tried late night news and that sort of thing. So, the ratings, which is, of course, what advertisers pay attention to for the 6 o'clock news slot, is probably tanking as people die off or they consume their media in a different way or they time shift it or whatever. I know I haven't listened to free-to-air broadcast television for over a decade. I would have watched the debates on TVNZ's app or TV3's app, that sort of thing.
Yep.
But advertisers don't listen to that. Like legacy media and advertisers really haven't got a handle on the digital world at all, because you can't show the same numbers as you used to be able to with legacy media. So all they see is a decline. And it's just people still want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they still want to know the news. And in a world with so much free entertainment or free information, it makes it really hard to put a value on it. Like some of you very good people in the chat have clearly put a value on BHN, which we're endlessly appreciative for. But by the same token, that doesn't give us enough pull to put Christopher Luxon in a chair and really turn the screws to him.
Yet.
Yet. We'll get you, Chris. We'll get you.
Maybe with Newshub gone, we'll have more of a chance. Welcome tonight to all those Newshub viewers, by the way.
But yeah, it's stuff like that, and I think for the government to be so glib and go, well, they're a private business, that it's a business decision, that sort of thing. I think that channel is just going to be flooded with reality bullshit and entertainment or advertising disguised as entertainment.
Infotainment.
Yeah, and we're not going to get the information part of that.
Yeah.
And the people that have the skills that have been doing that job, where are they going to go? Are they going to go overseas? Are they, there's not enough to absorb that many people in that industry looking for jobs at the moment.
Yeah.
Big hearing news hub.
It sounds like someone's got a swollen testicle. Oh, my big hearing news hub.